Everyone ready? Yeah, last one is still one cover. All right, we'll go ahead and call to order our regular council meeting for August 26, 2023. And we'll begin with a moment of silence. Amen. All right, I need to get a motion to amend the agenda. You knows what's coming. Then we need to strike number 4, our special guest, Chairman James couldn't be here tonight. So
Yeah, for the record, he would like to have been here, but he has some medical things that he was concerned about. He said he'd be happy and, he'd love to come to
okay.
September and October, but I told him we have a full agenda tonight.
All right, so have a motion to amend. Second, Scott, all in favor, unanimous. All right, now I need to get a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Joey makes that motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, how do we need to do this next step?
So before you all is a resolution dealing with the appointment of an interim council member. Tom has resigned because he's moved out of the jurisdiction. So the way our charter is written is you make an appointment that, is an interim member until the next election. So the resolution is also going to make that call for the election, which will happen in November. Talks about qualifying in that position too. So effectively, you just need to adopt the resolution, but we need to know on the blank what name. Somebody have to tell us who we can plug in.
So that's what this first order of special business is we have a name to plug in. So I spoke with Sissy Henry. She's currently serving as our P and Z chair. And so we'll have to find someone we'll have to find her replacement on that in the next few months.
So I got a question there. Obviously, I know we've got to replace her. Are we replacing the chairman's chair or just
Just
replacing the
they'll have to-
position? And then they will decide who gotcha. I was just wanting to make sure.
So Sissy has said that she is willing to serve. This will officially only be until December of this year, unless she decides to run for Tom's seat to fulfill the next 2 years. This just gets us through the election. So I need a nomination or a motion to nominate Sissy. Joey makes that. Scott seconds. All in favor? Unanimous? All right, we will have an oath of office and
The motion to adopt this resolution with her name filled in the blanks.
so we won't do that later. Okay, I need to have a motion.
You got it.
All right, Joey makes a motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. And then we have Sissy can take her oath of office and come join us up here.
All right.
And we're, Megan, if you don't mind, we'll send you, we will send you a picture.
There you go. One today.
There you go. You go, girl. I'm not gonna argue.
I wouldn't argue.
Well, I just came from work and I was like. All right, go wild, get wild, live wild. What's what it says. All right.
I say straight,
Sylvia,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear to affirm
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of councilperson
I will faithfully discharge the duties of councilperson
of the town of Tallulah Falls, Georgia.
of the town of Tallulah Falls, Georgia.
I will not knowingly permit my vote
I will not knowingly permit my vote
to be influenced by fear, favor, affection, or reward.
to be, let me see where it's at. To be influenced by fear, favor, affection, reward, and all things pertaining to my office.
I will be governed by the public good and the interests of the town.
I will be governed by the public good in the interest of the town.
I will observe and the provisions of the charter
I will I will observe the provisions of the charter, ordinances, and regulations of the town of Tallulah Falls.
and I will support and defend the constitutions of the state of Georgia and the United States of America.
And I will support and defend the Constitution of the state of Georgia and the United States of America.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
any other state, or any foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia.
any other state or foreign state which I am prohibited from holding by the laws of the state of Georgia.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money
due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
due to this state or any political subdivision authority thereof.
I have been a resident of the town of Tallulah Falls for more than 6 months,
I have been a resident of the town of Tallulah Falls for more than 6 months.
and I am otherwise qualified to hold this office by the Constitution and laws of this state.
And I am otherwise qualified to hold this office by the Constitution and the laws of this state
And the charter and ordinances of the town of Tallulah Falls, so help me God.
and the charter and ordinance of the town of Tallulah Falls, so help me God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I need your autograph.
Okay.
Please.
I'm gonna sign it, Sylvia.
Congratulations.
Hey. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we said we have to, so this year, just make that out. Go ahead and announce that you're.
Okay.
Go ahead and
I will
sign.
be
Okay.
resigning from the P and Z board, chairman of the P and Z board, effective immediately for the town of Tallulah Falls. I ask you to accept it as a recommended. Okay.
Well, council.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
When do we, so, is it the council appointing someone else? When is that?
Just we'll see if we can find someone next month or two. We'll probably need, it'd be good if we could appoint someone next month, because if something comes up, we need a full board, and we'll try to get that done. So,
And for clarity on the motion, there's 3 blanks, your name will be plugged into, we'll have to date it, but it's pretty clear, it takes effect on the date of the adoption.
all right, so let's go ahead and get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Joey makes a motion. Scott seconds, all in favor?
Do I go ahead and vote on this?
Yeah. So that's unanimous. On the job training. All right, do we have an attorney report? We do. Okay. Special guest, we don't have new business, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Rails to Trails discussion with Atlas, if they're online with us. I see Felicia right there. Okay. So I'm gonna turn things over to Felicia and anybody else with Atlas to kind of get the discussion started. We talked a little bit about this last month, but y'all had a lot of questions, and I really couldn't adequately answer those questions, so. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, she's unmuted. Go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I see you're holding up your hand.
For Cece's benefit, would it be good for whoever the representative is with Atlas to explain a little bit? Because Cece hadn't been in the DDA meeting or with this, would it be good for them to explain?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping she was
Okay.
gonna do for us, so. All right, go ahead.
Well, sir, what were you hoping I was going to do? Just kind of run through what we've done today?
Give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of what you went over in that kickoff meeting with Linda and myself. And
Oh my, all right, well,
not the whole thing, not the whole thing, just enough of it to kind of what role y'all are gonna play, why you need to play it, and then sort of the very broad strokes.
all right, well, I'll give it a go. So we're here today because Tallulah Falls applied for some transportation alternative program funding through Georgia Department of Transportation in calendar year 2022. Right? You guys applied for some funding on roughly a 20-mile shared use path project from Cornelia up to Tallulah Falls. Are you all with me? All right. So through that program, it is federal money that comes out of Federal Highway Administration, and it's administered through GDOT. There are plenty of, there's a process that we have to go through. To help with that process, GDOT hired Atlas Technical Consultants to help manage and administer all the steps. So the steps are covered under what's called the plan development process. And the plan development process has been developed since it kind of started in 1966 with the Clean Water Act. You know, that Clean Water Restoration Act that a lot of people call NEPA. It's the Environmental Protection Act. So with that being said, the plan development process starts with the project description and ends with construction bidding. The whole process generally takes about 5 years. There's lots and lots of steps. And we will have to do coordination with various entities along the way, such as Fish and Wildlife Service. If this crosses over to National Park Service, we'll have to check in with National Park Service and a slew of other ones. So as you can tell, 5 years is a lot of effort, a lot of paperwork, and that's where the Atlas team enters into the process to help you guys get through it. GDOT administers it. They're the counterpart to Federal Highway Administration, so we have to go through a certification process at GDOT. And that's kind of the overview on the mechanics of getting from an idea to construction bidding. So with that being said, since Tallulah Falls is not locally administered project certified, which is a lengthy process in itself, GDOT would place this project on the GDOT Regional On-Call contract, and the GDOT subject matter experts basically would take it from start to finish. And at various points in time, we would execute task orders, and those task orders would be an 80% federal with a 20% match, is how the task orders would work.
Okay, so when we talked, probably several years ago, or several months ago, sorry, the task order 1 is what this initial grant would cover the cost of. And task order 1 gets us to the point where we have all the engineering studies done, we have all the routes planned, we have everything ready for starting the process of well, I'm not sure what task order number 2 includes, but I know that this gets us to the point where we have the engineering studies, we have the estimate of total cost. And that's pretty much the biggest takeaway on this, from my perspective, is that's what this initial investment will be. But it would not get us into the construction phase at all. So
Correct. The first task order is what we call the concept development. It would result in those engineering studies and about a 30% set of construction plans. And then task order 2 would take us through up to the right-of-way acquisition phase. And then task order 3 would take us up to construction bidding.
So we got 2 more steps before we even do construction going. So, but each other task order we can put in for additional grants, correct?
There will be opportunities, yes. GDOT's Office of Planning would open a call for funding each fiscal year. And then projects would be selected on a competitive basis for funding.
But we don't get access to that option if we don't go through the first task order.
Well,
Correct.
yeah, like the level of completion is one of the elements that determine how competitive the particular project is.
So task one is 350,000. That's an estimate, correct? So what if you did the work that only cost $150,000? Where does the rest of the grant money go?
It will not be 150.
Okay, how do they determine the 350? I guess is the question.
Well, the 350 was guidance from the office that I represent, what we gave as guidance to the communities. What we're seeing, of course, across, I'm sure you guys are experiencing it, there's quite a bit of increase in cost across the board. The 350 was based off of a very much a shorter project.
Well, we're
So-
probably gonna reduce that back down to just staying within the
6 months.
within the 6 miles that's in Tallulah Falls.
Okay.
And not going all the way back down, all the way down to Cornelia.
Okay. Yeah, that's a significant reduction. So that would help us. And also when we go through the first task order process, we're going to be talking to the designers and land surveyors and environmental specialists. So we can do, make an effort to keep it within that 350.
What if it's less than 350? Is this a T&M type situation or is that 350 just guaranteed? So our $70,000 match would have to be guaranteed as well. In other words, if we reduced it down to where the overall, this design process, we don't have a lot to do. It should only cost about $150,000 in theory. We would still match the 70,000. Who gets the remainder of the 350? Does that make any sense? Because it's got to be some real cost.
It does make sense, but the 150 is not going to get us through concept approval.
How do we know that? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, the last one I did was only about an 8/10 of a mile, and it came back at 550.
So there's a possibility for this grant in task one that will go up?
Yes. The award amount is simply an award amount.
Yeah,
It hasn't gotten the man hours put on it and the deliverables identified by the subject matter experts.
so there's a possibility that the grant could increase based on that study?
The cost would increase.
Okay, well, what the grant wouldn't increase, so then would our match increase? Does that make sense? If it's over
Yes.
350 plus
Yeah.
70?
Whatever
we
the
could
total-
possibly pay more.
Yes, sir. The total would always be an 80-20, 80% federal with the 20% local match. Tallulah Falls would not be obligated to any dollar amount until Tallulah Falls signs a memorandum of agreement.
Yeah,
So that just means like, well, my team and all the other people who would go through the effort of procurement, like identifying the deliverables, putting man hours on it, putting a dollar on it, that would be at no cost to Tallulah Falls if you want us to progress forward through that process and get you a real dollar amount for the determined
So-
scope that we decide on.
so you guys would determine whether or not the prices you're getting in are competitive, or is this all internal?
No, well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
internal to GDOT. Atlas doesn't have a say in the prices. What we do is facilitate it through the procurement process, and all that I would do is identify deliverables, and then I
Mhm.
hand it over to the GDOT negotiators. And then what the pardon me?
Yeah, ultimately, GDOT's doing the negotiation.
So just for, let's make it real simple, like the first aspect of the thing would probably be surveying, correct? So if you surveyed the project, is GDOT's gonna just assign a surveyor, no matter what the cost is, and it gets applied against the grant? Does that make sense? Or
Yes,
do
it
y'all
does.
bid it out?
It does make sense. GDOT has already, in essence, bidded out what we call the regional on-call contract. They've already selected consultants based on qualifications only.
Right, that's qualification for consultants. I got that. So they probably got some T and M rates or time and material rates cost.
Yeah,
and then
there's set
they'll
hours.
apply it to the grant.
Yes. They will use
they
that as,
track
Mhm.
So it's kind of an unknown.
To a certain extent, yes, there's information available and GDOT won't let the consultants go beyond market value. But there is, like the nature of your terrain might be, more man hours than we even know. Does that make sense? Like the
Yeah.
land surveys might come back and say, in this section, we have to take a shot every 15 feet versus every 50 feet. So that adds hours to it. Does
But in the
that,
same way, it could decrease. There's not really an estimate that goes with the 350. There's not a per mile sort of estimate or per
Not
linear
yet.
foot estimate. Does that make sense?
yes, absolutely, and there is not one right now.
Really?
But
I'm
part of
Okay.
Part of what we do through the procurement process is we go through a series of spreadsheets and a series of information to determine that.
Yeah, I understand.
What I'm getting is that when we put in for the initial grant, we were asking for 150,000. Atlas somehow got involved during that process and said, "Yeah, you're gonna need more than that," and bumped it up to what, the 350. But from what I'm hearing, it could still exceed that, and we'd be on the hook for every dollar above that, plus our 20% match.
I thought she said we were only. It was only the 20% match. So if it goes over the 350,
Yeah, we don't have a grant for it. We would
The
have
grant
to-
stops
the grant stops
Yeah,
at the
350.
350.
So we'd have 70,000 just for that. I think it's at 20%. Then we'd have to pay for everything else above
Okay,
that.
do we have the ability, if that happens, to say, stop?
There are some points in this, and I do not have that in front of me, where we can stop the process and not go any further. But I don't know, I can't remember where all those stopping points were.
Felicia,
It would,
if you don't mind my asking, are you with the Duluth office?
yes, sir.
Okay, and are you a PM there, or what's your,
Yes, my title is Deputy Program Manager. I'm a civil engineer by trade. I have a PE. And I have been helping communities such as yours for like 15 years in this program. So the memorandum of agreement that I mentioned earlier, it would be one of those checkpoints that you guys would know the dollar amounts coming up. Does that
Yeah, how
help?
many of those are there in the first task level?
One.
Just one.
Yeah, task order 1 would result in a memorandum of agreement number 1.
And
And
does that come at the end of the process before we get the data? Or is it earlier in the process?
the data, do you mean the report?
Yeah, all the reports and.
Okay. It would be prior to that. So what would happen is if you guys want us to proceed forward, and there's no cost to you guys proceeding forward for this section, what we would do is a scoping phase, in essence, where the engineers, the environmentalist, Tallulah Falls would be invited. We talk through each deliverable to get us to concept approval. We just talk about it and identify the level of effort. And after we identify each deliverable, then Atlas steps out, GDOT negotiators come in, and they identify the man hours and the dollar amount.
So
And
at that point, we would know what this first task order would end up costing roughly?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
So
it would be what it is, as far as once the negotiators say that they've negotiated, that's the dollar amount, and that task order 1 would not change.
okay, so then at that point, we're not committed yet. And if we
Correct.
see the dollar amount, something we just cannot do, then we can end it there.
Correct. You guys, if you do not sign that memorandum of agreement, Tallulah Falls is not committed to a dollar.
Okay.
And along the way, I'll make it a point to keep pestering people to see how much they think it's gonna cost. To give you ideas as we go through it. So I'll be asking those questions on your behalf as well. Because once they go behind closed doors, if you will, once the negotiators do what they do, they won't come back to me. So I'll pester them until they go into that phase of the development.
So basically, they're gonna provide an estimate.
And yes, we will do the best that we can to
Actual
provide an
value
estimate.
before we have to do anything.
Yeah,
Well,
and we'll-
it sounds like what will be is not just an estimate, but like a locked in amount that it will
yeah,
be.
well, any words that come out of my mouth are estimates. Once that once that memorandum of agreement comes out, it's a dollar amount that that GDOT has agreed is within fair market value and would get you to a concept report.
Okay.
So then the question that would be, do we want to make that, go ahead and make that next step, or does the specter of that this could exceed that 350 make it?
Well, this next step doesn't do anything, right?
Well,
We
it
don't
tells us
spend
what,
any money.
it tells us.
I know, we don't spend any money. I'm just worried about the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
I think this is fine, it's not costing.
All right.
You're just keeping me busy.
Yeah.
We're keeping you employed.
There you
So
go. I
security.
appreciate it.
All right. So are there any other questions from the public, from DDA? Susan?
Yeah, I'm looking at I don't know if y'all had the opportunity to look at the preliminary plan development process, which comes from GDOT to Atlas to us. And a lot, there's an environmental, there's traffic studies, lighting agreements, drainage, hydraulics, some erosion control. Keep in mind, we're looking at a rail bed that is 90% intact. That's been there for 140 years. So the traffic studies.
Those may be just more like categories that they have to
Yeah.
address on each one. If there's no value there, there's no cost there, I'm sure it won't be in your estimate, correct?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Well
I'd say,
said, Fred, thank you.
yeah, okay.
Did you hear all that? Did you hear all that?
She's on mute.
Yes,
Okay,
Okay. So the stuff that's not relevant. It looked like most of the stuff was not relevant rather than relevant, and that concerned me that we might be wasting our time, but if it's not relevant, then we won't spend time on it, and we will only address the issues related to developing a rail trail, correct?
yes. Only the deliverables that the group decides is applicable to the plan development process would be identified as a deliverable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other thoughts or insight?
we'll have to do we have to make a motion to move it forward? Not really. Just, okay.
I don't think we have to.
Yeah.
But if you want to go ahead and everybody's in agreement.
Was there, just a question for you, I know this was also gonna be on the DDA meeting on the 29th. Was there anything you were looking for out of that DDA meeting before making a decision of pertaining to this?
Not necessarily, no. I wouldn't think so.
Not for this scope phase, right?
Right.
But
It's before we sign on dotted line,
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to know if the DDA is ready, able to help us find money.
What you find out in the scope phase might influence the GDA's.
Right, right. Yeah,
Maybe when we're done with Atlas. Or maybe now. The folks from Atlas recommended, when we did our preliminary call, they recommended that we consult with Path Foundation, which Path Foundation is based in Atlanta. It's a nonprofit, and they build paths. They were instrumental in Silver Comet, that's one of the, and then the Stone Mountain Trail, and then they have a whole inventory of trails. They have engineers that do design, they do help source grants, and sometimes help procure matching funds for grants. They know all the ins and outs, and we were at the DDA meeting and Bill Turk was saying, let's find somebody who knows how to do this and has done this before. And the Pat Foundation does that. And Atlas recommended we contact them, and we have a conference call with them on the 21st of this month.
It's next Tuesday.
Yeah, the lady from Pat Foundation was very excited when I provided the information about our project. And I'm kind of optimistic that this Pat Foundation may be able to guide us and tell us what Atlas can do for us and what some other grants may be. There's some other grants that are designed more towards trail building that may help us based off the recommendation from what Atlas said.
Right. So I think it's definitely worth pursuing that as well, but it sounds like the council's in agreement to go ahead and cut you guys loose, Felicia. And y'all go ahead and get us to the next step.
Yes, sir, we can do it.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us and helping us work through this a little bit. And you'll let us know roughly what kind of time frame we're looking at.
Probably within the next 30 days, we'll have a scoping meeting scheduled. So, you know, mid-September, we'll start talking to the designers and the environmentalists and game on. See what happens.
Okay. All right. Then we'll, unless you have anything else to say, we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda.
No,
Thank
sir,
you for
just-
being here.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
All right, so, well, so for DEA's purposes, Joey and those that are listening, we'll just, we'll wait to hear back from them to know for sure, but yeah, y'all keep talking about ideas about what funding sources y'all might be able to find, what Bill can come up with. I know he's gonna be a great resource. So, and then of course, we'll have our meeting with Pat next week and see what they have to say, and I'll report that back to you guys. And, we'll keep that, just kind of keep this rolling, seeing where it goes, but we know we've got a stopping point if it does get something to be something we can't afford. So,
How far, I know Cordelia has completed how much of a phase, I mean, how far are they, how much work have they done?
they've done quite a bit, but all they had to do was mow, I think.
Well, their plan, they have it all drawn out, engineered right away, everything's acquired. They're waiting for money. They wanted to pave it, and I think. I don't think we need to pave our section. I don't think all of it needs to be paved. You actually get a higher score in many grants if you don't pave it. But anyway, so they've applied for a federal grant. They should be hearing something, and they were gonna hear something this summer, so it's August. And they were gonna do Cornelia basically all the way out to Walmart and get their section built. So they're ahead of us. They're looking for big money funding to build it. Yeah, and they want to pay it, and that's part of the big money they're looking for. May I make one other comment, please?
Sure.
One of my concerns, Atlas versus possibly this Georgia Outdoor GOSP stewardship program. There's a different grant. We need to see the value. I don't want to raise a bunch of money for a grant that won't do for us what a different grant can do more effectively. That's what I'm trying to say. So when we get to I know let's find out phase, but when it comes down to money, I'm asking people for money, and I want to make sure it's most effective money that we get.
I think we've definitely got time to figure some of that out, because it doesn't sound like if 30 days out is when we're gonna have our scope of project get together, then there's gonna be some more, there'll be more time, because then they're gonna go out and start talking to people, try to get more information, come back to us. So I feel like that's gonna be a couple of months past that, so.
They need somebody to walk in the room for my kind of volunteer.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so next Next item on the agenda, resolution to call a special election. So I need to get a, so in the first section of your packet is the resolution. Oh, we already adopted this one? Oh, I'm sorry. That's good. This one here. Okay, all right, sorry. Near the back of your packet, there's a resolution to regulate. Wait a minute, that's not it. We're skipping the special election?
This is.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I saw regulate and I started thinking alcohol. A resolution to regulate and provide for the calling of a special election to fill the vacancy in the office of councilperson caused by the resignation of the Honorable Tom Tilley. Do I have any questions about the resolution? If not, get a motion.
The date will be filled in the bag. It's gonna be there.
And I need a motion to adopt this resolution. Joey makes that motion, Scott seconds. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Can you announce the qualifying dates?
Oh, yeah, this is gonna be different, the qualifying dates for the special election, for anyone wanting to run to fulfill Tom's term, will, be on the August 28th, beginning at 9 a.m., Monday, and ending 12 noon on Wednesday. During regular office hours, so it'll be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at noon. So they're qualifying for that one. Qualifying for our seats starts next Monday and runs through Friday.
Oh, that's next week.
Yeah. So we'll have two different qualifications and the qualifying fee will still be $18 for that special election. So let's see. Next on the agenda is the referendum for Sunday sales of consumption on premises. And that's the one, it's the next one in the packet. So we have a call for an ordinance to amend our ordinances. Oh, one, sorry. So I'll first referendum. Okay, all right, sorry. Title is an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances, town of Tulare Falls, Georgia, to allow for Sunday sales of malt beverages and wine for on-premises consumption by the drink. To authorize a referendum to provide for an adoption and effective date and to provide for other lawful purposes. Basically, this is calling for. This is a referendum to put this on the ballot for Sunday sales in Tulare Falls. So we talked about this last month and we wanted to go ahead and put it before the people to make a decision. So we need to have a motion to adopt this referendum.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm sure it's just something missing, but the referendum is for on premises consumption, and yet in section 1, it says that sale for carry-out purposes. So how does that work?
I happened to ask the same thing.
Yeah, it's either or,
No.
right? Go right ahead.
Yeah. The heading is already in our ordinance. So that didn't change.
Okay.
So down below there says there shall be, it's a bullet point list and says there should be no sales on there. So there should be no on-premise sales.
Mhm.
So in other words, the heading is simply changed, but this ordinance will replace that part of it to say on-premise sales. Did that answer? Doesn't look like it answered your question. It may have-
Well, it confused mine, because I mean, right now, you can sell beer, wine, my understanding, right? In Tulare Falls,
Monday through Saturday.
right?
On
Oh,
premise.
this
On
is
premise.
done, yeah.
Right.
On premise, though, so you can, go someplace that has a license and buy a beer to drink there, but you can't go into someplace, buy a 6-pack of beer and take it.
Right,
That's-
And that's not changing.
Well, not with this.
Oh, though.
So,
But
yeah, this is just to get to Sunday sales.
are we
On
stating
premise.
hours in this, or is it, okay?
do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, for sale, all right, so the referendum, or we're talking about for the sale of malt beverages or wine for consumption by the drink on the premises where sold from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and between the hours of 11 a.m. and 12 midnight on Sundays, except as otherwise provided in state law. So the actual referendum will say, yes or no, shall the governing authority of the town of Little Falls, Georgia be authorized to permit and regulate Sunday sales of wine and malt beverages for beverage purposes by the drink?
Why is Sunday later than a Saturday? I would think it would be earlier than later.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's because of our current ordinance ends it at 11. And state law allows it till later, but they used our current 11 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, typically it'd be
I'm okay
2
with
a.m.
it,
or
but
something.
I understand why we need to
So
sell.
it
alcohol
varies
till
from
midnight
here all
on
the way to
Sunday.
Anna.
Oh, that's probably don't do that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and you can change this, but the thing is, this is what you would call Brunchville. So when I first moved to Georgia, you couldn't buy anything on Sunday, period.
Me too.
Then it was open to a referendum about whether you could buy alcohol on Sundays. Then that sort of blossomed into something else. So right now you can buy alcohol for off-premise consumption in places that have authorized it by a referendum from 12:30 on. Along those lines, the legislature eventually said that you can also authorize the consumption of alcohol by the drink on premise, starting at 11. The idea being, if you want to go someplace for brunch, you can do drink, you don't have to wait until 12:30.
Are we, and that, I apologize, but are we stating anything in there about having to provide food or anything like that, or there's nothing like?
That's already
Already
in our.
on the
Oh, it's already,
Okay, and we're not changing that.
Yeah.
okay.
So if they, to Councilperson Augustine's point, if they wanted to only go to 11, like they do every other day of the week, could that be changed?
It's good.
I don't see why Sunday needs to go beyond any other day.
That's just what was about.
If anything,
I think, so state law allows it to go from 11 a.m. to 12 midnight on Sundays. But state law allows a lot more every other day of the week, but it's subject to whatever the ordinance would be on the other days of the week.
I mean, would we really want an establishment open till midnight on
I
Sunday?
don't think they are open.
No, but
But if you,
would somebody want to?
yeah, as we're trying to develop, bring other restaurants in.
Yeah.
And you'll notice the call of this election here, section 2. Is just whether y'all should be authorized to adopt this resolution. Or, it doesn't mean that they're voting on specific hours or specific things, it's still subject to political process. The law just says you adopt an ordinance that is conditioned upon a resolution. So you're really not doing anything more than allowing it to go to the voters. If the voters shoot it down, this goes away.
It's done. Okay.
I just, Chief Elrod's here. I would like for her to weigh in as far as any concerns she might have with regards to alcohol sales or anything like that. Do you, would you see or do you have any issues, problems with this, the times or anything like that?
Yeah, it really doesn't affect, because whether it's here or somewhere else, they can still get it, it comes through. mainly our problem was on the roadway, so.
Well, haven't seen any big brawls break out. Brawls,
You hadn't been to the shack.
private property. All right, so any other questions? Okay, so
Just kind of foreshadowing, the next two are gonna be kind of related to this. There is another referendum, but for different purposes. And for right now, this is just, you already have on-premise consumption. This is just allowing it on Sundays, allowing it from 11 a.m. Y'all want to change the times?
I just think we should be consistent, just.
So then we can take the motion to adopt the referendum or call for the referendum with the change to 11 p.m. on it.
Motion to adopt Sunday sales ordinance with the
With that,
change.
with that change. Okay, yeah, so that would be the motion we would want to make. So Joey's gonna make that motion, Scott seconds. Any other question?
On the effective date, you'll fill that in as appropriate. It'll be the same in all the resolution, but you spell that out. There is that one.
Okay. All right, motion and second, all in favor? Unanimous, all right. Now let's see. I'm sure it's the right one here. Okay, now this is just a regular ordinance, correct? Amendment to our
Yes.
regular ordinances. This isn't a call for a referendum. All right, so we want to amend, this would be an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances for the town of Tallulah Falls, Georgia, to allow for package sales of malt beverages and wine. Keep that part in mind, just malt beverage and wine, not distilled spirits, for off-premise consumption, to provide for an adoption and effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes. Basically, we've already got an alcohol ordinance, but it doesn't allow for us. We were asked by one of the businesses in town to be able to do growler sales and some things like that. And this is what kind of helps get us to that point. And we have to make this change before we can go to the next referendum that we've got coming up on the agenda. So y'all have any questions about this? Any concerns? All right, get a motion to adopt this ordinance. Joey makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Sissy seconds it. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, so then that brings us to the ability to have those sales on Sunday, which has to be a referendum and on the ballot. So this would be Sunday package sales ordinance, an ordinance to amend the code of ordinances, town of Tallulah Falls, Georgia, to allow for Sunday package sales of malt beverages and wine for off-premise consumption, to authorize a referendum, and to provide for an adoption and effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes. So I don't know if this one says. This one say 12 o'clock midnight.
It's 11:30.
11:30.
Wow. 11:30 still,
Yeah.
still later than 11.
So before we go on this one, I'll bring back up the one we just voted on has the same default time period midnight, which they are ordering to.
You need to go back and change that. Okay,
Need a motion to change that.
And the motion bring back up for reconsideration.
I'll make that.
okay. Second, Scott seconds, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, let's go back. Where is that?
Right here. So
4:35.
Gotcha.
Can we just have each of the resolutions end at 11 o'clock on Sunday, somewhere?
Yeah.
Again, just consistent throughout. That would be my recommendation.
This is Saturday. This.
Oh, okay.
What I heard y'all say is that you wanted it to be 11 Monday through Saturday.
I think Monday,
It's Monday through Saturday now, so in this one, the last package say, it would also be the same as
yeah, so it needs to be through 11.
I think it also simplifies it and, you know, when the retailers start selling this, their employees will know it's consistent. That, well, it's
Yeah.
12 o'clock one day and 11 o'clock the next, and if I lift my right leg, I'm like 30, you know.
Right. So we're gonna make those two changes to go from midnight to 11. Yeah. And no malt beverages or wine will be sold on Christmas Day. Shouldn't be open on Christmas Day. That's not my problem. No, it's just- Then we move back.
well, I mean, what I'm saying is, in the first one of these we adopted, it's 11 a.m. It's subject to a referendum, it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and we had a default there of 11 a.m. to 12 midnight on Sunday, so we modified that to 11. Linda, what's the ordinance say in terms of hours? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's playing, what's the,
On the package sale at 7 a.m. to 12 midnight, Monday through Saturday.
that's what it says in that. one.
All right, now we don't do that.
So you all have to just be consistent in 11. Yeah.
Okay, so. I need a motion to adopt this ordinance based on changing the times to 11 p.m. to stop sales. Okay, Scott makes the motion, Joey seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. Thank you. No problem. You let things get through, that's good. Becoming consistent causes confusion.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. So the question that's gonna be on the ballot is gonna say till 11. The sample question here, it'll say 11 p.m. instead of 11:30.
Oh,
It's on ballot.
It's on page, well.
Yep.
The second to the last page.
It's not.
it is on whatever this. The next one, the one we're coming in. We haven't gotten to that.
Okay.
So we're getting, we're,
So just to, so there's the Sunday sales for on premise. And the question just says, shall the governing authority of the town of Blue Falls, Georgia be authorized to permit and regulate Sunday sales of wine and malt beverages? For beverage purposes by the drink, since that's not the hours,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
but then. That's a different,
right,
that's a different,
yeah, that's what we're coming up to, so yeah, we need to change.
But the ordinance has the times.
Right.
Which allows it to-
And we're making all of them consistent, that's what we're doing.
that's right. So the first one we adopted, which it was the brunch bill. Had the default to midnight on Sundays, but it's just gonna be moved back to 11, which is what our ordinance already says. The next one, we don't currently allow. So it didn't have hours through any of them. But by adopting that ordinance, we're putting hours in, the hours are gonna be the same as what they would be for on premise as off premise. Other than, there's a caveat to that, which is Sunday sales of off premise consumption. Those can only start at 12:30, not 11 AM. Now they can stop it at 11 PM. We probably need to make that change, but in other words, you're,
That'll be the one inconsistency that has to.
that'll be the one that.
Okay, started at
That's state law though.
That's right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so. We made that, we got, that was voted, that was unanimous, correct?
So we still have to do. the-
Yeah, we still.
We've noticed.
And we voted.
Mhm.
So do we have to make a motion to modify that one also to 11?
Yeah, we'll make a motion, we'll make that change, so I'm just making sure that we got the ordinance passed, and unanimous, and it was, so now we're moving on. And to address your question, unless y'all have any questions about this, then the motion would be to, let me read it off real quick. This will be for Sunday package sales ordinance, and ordinance to amend the code of ordinances of Tallulah Falls, Georgia, to allow for Sunday package sales of malt beverages and wine for off-premise consumption, to authorize a referendum, to provide for an adoption and effective date, and to provide for other lawful purposes. So the motion would be to adopt this ordinance, calling for a referendum with the change in the ballot question to be 11, to stop sales at 11 PM on Sundays. Yep, so that would be the motion. Okay, Scott makes the motion, Joey seconds. All in favor, unanimous, all right. Now we have consistency where we can. All right. Putting that behind us, I believe the next two items will be for our police chief to talk to the council about. So the first one is the part-time pay increase.
Yeah, it was an oversight on my year budget. The money's there for it, and it's already in there. I just didn't raise her salary. I put that, so just requesting raise it $3 more an hour.
Well, is that something that we can, that the council controls, or we just say you've got this much budget and whatever you pay your officers is?
Well, if you're gonna not ask for an increase in the budget, because I mean, it wouldn't cover the same amount of hours if you increase the amount of hours. So we based it on every other weekend or whatever, you wouldn't have that many hours available unless they amend the budget to cover the additional pay for that many hours.
So
That makes
is that
sense.
making sense?
Yeah, I mean,
So if you still want it every other weekend and you're gonna increase the pay, then they'll need to increase the budget.
We'll have to amend the budget, so what would that amount be? We have an off the top of your head.
What are you asking to increase it to?
it's 18.
Where are they currently?
I'm sorry.
How much are they currently?
It's
15.
$1,500.
How much?
It's $3 increase, 20 hours a weekend.
Usually they run 16.
How many hours?
16 usually. They run
Yeah, I
that.
base it off 20 is about $1,000.
That's just every other weekend?
Yeah, it's every other week.
How much?
$1,565. Let's see, it was $3 at $20 overtime, 20 hours. On $60. A weekend, it's 52 weeks in a year, divided by 2 times that's 1560. I'm sure you got overhead and some other stuff.
Right, that should cover where
$2,000.
one of them is hearing.
Just say 2,000. All right, so then we'll need a motion on that to increase the salary, the budget for part-time salaries. I think Scott's formulating something.
I am. It was gonna be how much? $1,500.
$2,000.
Say 2,000. Second increase the budget by 2,000. We got it.
Well,
Sure.
I'm sorry. I mean, my son worked at Chick-fil-A and made more than what they're making. You know, I think it's ridiculous. Why don't we just do 20 an hour? It's not gonna be that much more. We have it in available. I just think asking somebody to risk their life for $15 or $18, I'm not saying 20 is even enough, but if we're gonna make a raise, let's make it.
So that make it around 4 to 5,000.
I want to ask Chief a question if I could. I mean, you were the one asking for the 18. Was there something you were basing that on as far as what you know is comparable within the state or North Georgia or any or other cities within Raven, Habersham County?
Well, a lot of places don't have part-time anymore. Everything's strictly full-time departments. So I know there was one department that one of my part-times, they were trying to get him to come and they were around 22 an hour, but they were down below Athens. He didn't want to go that far, so. He said if you could at least raise a couple of dollars, that's, I said, we're gonna try to get what we can just to be able to help them with how much they do have. They're hard to find.
$18 an hour if you. Lawyers doing that's a dangerous proposition, you understand, but if you extrapolate that out to full-time equivalent, it's about 38,000 a year, so.
No, it never is.
Yeah, no, I just, I feel strongly that all of our public service, including our teachers, are never paid enough.
Right.
I mean.
You're
so-
correct. There's no doubt. I mean, we're not arguing.
Yeah, no,
I don't agree with you.
So
They're getting about 16 hours every 2 weeks, so that's. Still
So it's
like
$20.
2,080.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize.
So probably $2,500 still in it.
$2,600. Yeah, $20 to $22 will attract some people to come do it, right?
It
And that
does.
makes your life a little easier.
It
You get
attracts
better people. Well, that makes sense.
That's
To make it attractive, it's not like saying that.
That's,
Yeah, I understand.
So, want to go to 3,000, increase your budget by 3,000? Can we do that? Maybe that way if she needs to have someone work more than just, like, something comes up. And something happens, she has to be gone and she needs a part-time to step in.
but it also comes, it's public safety, correct? So
Most law enforcement.
It can come out of our
it
projects.
can come out of our school camera fund.
I would think so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I'm.
If we needed to, or we can move some things and cover something else with that. Okay. Or, we can figure out how to make that shift happen without any trouble at all. So. All right, and let's have a motion to increase her budget by 3,000 for part-time salaries. Joey makes the motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. And police vehicle purchase, are we purchasing or are you looking at leasing?
Sure.
Are you looking at leasing or purchasing?
Purchasing.
Okay.
Now, this can come out of safety funds, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because we need to. Utilize it.
And again, I first brought this up because I heard that the last time she had major repairs and we're under warranty, we're right up against the wall like we were with the first vehicle.
Yeah.
And
One of my questions is whether about staggering purchases instead of buying two at the exact same time and then they go out of warranty at exactly the same time. Or do we want to try to stagger them? Or that may happen automatically anyway because of the state of the economy.
I think, it's just hard if we don't order them at the beginning. Apparently Todd is very popular, so they've already cut off the list of how many you did. So that was why when Scott brought it up, I thought it would make no sense to go ahead and buy them now.
you get it for already.
I would be all about that. I don't know if we could let you borrow, but if it's blue, I don't ever wear it.
There wouldn't be a,
whole part-time job.
there wouldn't be an armadillo alive in the state after that. We better
Gonna
have
try more tourists. and wanna-
Yeah. real good ones. So. Do we know the purchase price stays the same, or do we?
No, we don't yet. I've been talking to Colt every week. He keeps saying they're gonna send the new list. Still haven't got it. They're pushing it to the first of the year. He said it's gonna go up a little more than what the 23s were, but again, he doesn't know how much. He said it's just. it's
What's-
yearly.
What was 23's? Price, was it 40 something,
They were 36, I believe.
36? So we're looking at adding probably, I'd say 40,000.
That was just under 50 by the time they were equipped.
Okay, I'm wrong. They were 43.5.
Is what?
First you said 39. Was this past year's. And then by the end of the year, they had went up to 43. So when they bought them early, it was cheaper.
I'm just curious, how many miles do you have on the current Tahoe?
The Tahoe now, I think is around 80.
Yeah, it's been running like full day hours, because Chris has the top.
Chris has it now. I'm in
So
the.
since he took over, he's been running a lot more of it. So. All right, so if that, everything sounds like it's in order, we'll need a motion to amend the budget to allow for Tanya to make that purchase. Scott makes a motion. Joey seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, and now on to the planning and zoning reports.
Yeah, from that.
Oh, did she not? Okay, well, I don't have my paperwork in front of me, but, we did talk about a proposal to the city council on a amendment to the noise ordinance and the construction demolition between certain hours in a R1, you wouldn't care about you. That is, if that has not been sent, that's just a recommendation for the next meeting. But we did approve for officers. I don't remember what else was on the agenda.
And that was all that was on the agenda. We had some discussion afterwards, or in the meeting, but future things to talk about.
Yeah, for new business, it's coming up.
Yeah. Harry August had spoken with me a little bit about his ideas. And I've looked into it and I'll have to verify if y'all want to proceed. This would just be a regular ordinance. This wouldn't be a zoning ordinance. So it'd be something that we do here outside of zoning. It'd just be an amendment to the noise ordinance to say that heavy machinery or whatever we want to put in can't be operated between certain hours, can only be operated between certain hours. He was suggesting like 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening.
Do you remember the hours?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so that's what he's recommending.
And none
We've
on
got-
Sunday.
And none on Sunday? Okay. So we need to draft that and work it up and see what, pass that around before we come over the final ordinance to bring to the table. So,
Do they have other noise ordinances in place already?
yeah, we have a noise ordinance and a nuisance ordinance. And basically, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't looked at it in a while, the noise ordinance is more about people being loud and boisterous. And if someone files a complaint, it goes to the police department, they investigate and mitigate. And or enforce, whichever needs to happen. So this would be a subsection of that same ordinance, which I think may actually be under the nuisance ordinance. I can't remember. Actually, no, I think the nuisance. I can't remember. I'm not gonna say anything out of school on that. So,
And this is heavy equipment.
well, I think the idea is any kind of construction activity that's disturbing the peace I know that one of the complaints was there were some trucks hauling dirt up to Chris Ward's house one night. And they ran, I think, into like 9 o'clock and, or after, and Christy, Shepherd was trying to get her kids to go to sleep. And so, and they were running, rumbling right by her place. They're coming downhill at that point. So they got the Jake brakes going and making a lot of ruckus.
How about if someone's cutting trees on the property, or sawing the firewood after 7, is that?
Yeah, I think we need to look and see if there's a way to put like a decibel level or something on that. I'd be careful about that one on Sundays because people like to mow their grass
Well,
on
yes,
Sundays. So you wouldn't want to.
in yard work is what I'm.
I think it was mainly to the construction, remodeling and demolition was the 3 items that you spoke about.
And if I remember, was it like outdoor, like if somebody was working inside their house?
Yeah, that would be okay. It's just mainly those 3 topics.
So I think Harry had some sample ordinances we can look at and I'll look for some others and we'll see what we can come up with if y'all are in agreement that we at least look into this. Okay, so we'll start looking at that. Mayor's comments. The Redinos will be packing up tomorrow and heading out. They've been with us for about 3 months or just a little under. And I sent y'all an email. I can't remember what my calculation was, but I think they did. Let me pull that up, because I want to make sure I did that right. They have 1 more week to report their work. The report that I sent you guys that will end up being online and available for everybody else. That's as of the end of last week. They have put in a total of 447.5 hours this year, which according to Independent Sector amounts to about $13,277 worth of labor for the town over the summer. So just want to thank them publicly and look forward to them being back next year, hopefully. And if you see them around the next day or so, I think they go out Friday morning. So if you see them around and just give them a pat on the back and give a chance, we really do appreciate it. Everybody at the state park loves when Gary's in town because he is a go-getter and he's the most vital player on the team in Gorge Rescues. We can do so much stuff and he's really a huge help. So he's always going in, he wants to go in and he's also done a lot of work on the fire trucks to help save us some money. He did like oil changes and some other things in the past few days and really helped save us some money. So that's about it. Appreciate him. Let's go to public comments. Anyone is on the line? Don't see anybody, nobody here. All right, then no public comment. I need to get a motion to go into executive session. Is it just for, for litigation? Joey makes that motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, it's unanimous. All right, so we need to go kick everybody up.
You're gonna have an action after executive session?
I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it.
Okay, cool.
So.
Let's say not too excited.
We're recording.
No one's in the waiting rooms,
All right.
but we're liable.
Okay. All right, executive session is concluded, so I need a motion to adjourn. Joey makes a motion, Scott second.
Make a motion to come back into regular session.
Need a motion to come back into regular session. Joey makes that motion, Scott seconds, all in favor. Unanimous. Now I need a motion to adjourn. Joey makes the motion, Scott seconds, all in favor. Let's go home.
Sissy, welcome. We have this kind of fun every month.